Yes, I messaged you.
Pool side.
Yes.
Senate, please come to order. Are there any announcements? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that our rules be suspended in order to message actions taken this morning on H542, an act relating to terminating testing of schools in Vermont for polychlorinated biphenyls, and H710, an act relating to defining electricity generating facilities, to the House forthwith.
The senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate suspend its rules in order to message our actions on H542 and H710 to the House forthwith. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries. We will now move to H935. We have on the calendar for action H935, which was passed by the House on May 14th of 2026. It was referred to the Committee on Government Operations, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that the Senate propose to the House that the bill be amended as it appears starting on page 4438 of today's calendar, and that with such proposal of amendment, the bill ought to pass. Affecting the appropriate expenditures of the state, the bill was referred to the Committee on Appropriations, which recommends that the bill ought to pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment as recommended by the Committee on Government Operations, with further proposal of amendment as found in your calendar today on page 4456. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
H935, an act relating to emergency management.
Recognize the senator from Rutland, Senator Collmore, for the report of the Committee on Government Operations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators will no doubt remember it was in summers just past that we had some major flooding occur, especially in the central Vermont area. And at that time, we began work on some emergency management legislation. And this bill, H935, in many ways is a substantial refinement of that work that we took a couple of years ago. I'm going to do the first six sections of the bill and then yield to a couple of the other members of the committee. And Mr. President, if I could, as we go through it, this is a strike-all amendment, by the way, from the committee, which you can find on page 4438. And I'd like to outline both the underlying bill as it came across and also the changes that we made.
You may.
Thank you. So section 1 adds to title 20 and establishes what is called the Ready Response Grant Program. The program is created to authorize the Division of Emergency Management to award an annual grant to an eligible food bank to source, store, and distribute shelf-stable, ready-to-eat foods and bottled water. The amount of a grant shall be sufficient to ensure that the food and raw water is appropriately stored, cycled, staged, and distributed pursuant to an MOU with the division. Food and water shall be redistributed by the grantee through qualifying nonprofits that provide food to individuals in Vermont. There will be, just so you know, later reference made to section 13A in this bill, which will allow this not to be implemented if the Department of Public Safety does not have the funds available. Section 2 creates what is going to be called the Urban Search and Rescue Team. This would establish in Title 20 a new program to issue grants of not more than $5,000 per grant, totaling not more than $25,000 annually, to fire departments, emergency medical service agencies, technical rescue agencies operating within Vermont for purposes of improving operational readiness, investing in specialized equipment and personal protective gear, and providing first responders with technical rescue training. The USAR, which is the acronym for Urban Search and Rescue, Program manager is granted APA authority to adopt procedures governing applicant review and scoring. The department is also required to collect records and reports from grant recipients concerning the use of those grant funds and provide a consolidated written report to both the House and Senate Government Operations Committee. Again, for Section 13A, this section also does not have to be implemented if the agency of administration does not have funds available. Section 2A amends Title 20 by adding the administration of the program to the USAR team program manager's duties. Section 3 amends Title 20 by adding a new definition in the Chapter 1 Emergency Management Subdivision, whole community, in quotes, that's WHOLE community, means the collective of residents, emergency management practitioners, organizational and community leaders, and local, state, and federal government officials. Section 4 amends Title 20 so that when the Division of Emergency Management advises municipalities on shelter sites, both the division and the municipality are to work with that whole community as defined in Section 3. Section 5 amends Title 20 with duties to require all local emergency planning committees to include representatives from organizations serving vulnerable populations and to coordinate with disability-led organizations throughout all phases of emergency management planning. Section 6 is now deleted because that referenced an earlier definition, but we've changed that with the definition of whole community. So, Mr. President, I'd like to yield now to the Senator from Windsor District, Senator White, for the explanation of the next few sections.
Senator from Rutland yields to the senator from Windsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to present sections 7 through 11 to the body, both as the spouse of a dispatcher and former wildland firefighter. My husband worked for 14 years in the United States and Canada fighting wildfires, and my sections pertain largely to fighting wildfires. So, look, I care too. The second reason I'm so proud to introduce and present this to you is because I'm the co-chair of the Climate Solutions Caucus, and to respond to natural disasters that are increasingly caused by global warming and climate change feel very interconnected. So, last year we saw over 84 wildland fires with a drought, due to the drought, which was leading to more summer fires than any time in the past 25 years in our state. We had over 154 days of elevated fire danger in Vermont. In 2023, we saw that in Quebec, over 13 million acres of land was burned. In 2024, we saw over 4,600 acres in Massachusetts burned. We also saw an additional 112 in Connecticut, and that cost millions of dollars to suppress and also caused the fatality of 2 wildlands firefighters. So this is a New England problem. We know that the existing forest fire and fire prevention statutes that were created over 125 years ago were designed at a time that no longer tracks with how we fight fires today. We now know there are very few rural fire departments, and these statutes no longer align with how our communities are fighting fire today. The suggested language was developed in concert with fire chiefs and town forest fire wardens to address the deficiencies in that alignment. You'll see for my sections, what are we attempting to address? One of the first issues we're attempting to address is that the FPR Commissioner's authority is not clearly defined. The proposed update clarifies the Commissioner's authority to take command of any forest fire within the state and the ability to delegate that authority. This authority is needed for FPR wildland fire staff to take charge of a wildfire as incident commander. That request of suppression cost assistance from the FEMA Fire Management Assistance Grant Quickly acting, that allows us to utilize nationally certified responders and incident management team members for large incidents. So that's the first issue we're resolving. The next issue is town forest fire wardens are responsible for forest fire suppression with no requirement for them to have an association with a responding fire department. Town forest fire wardens issue permits to kindle fire while the fire department responds if it gets out of hand. So that misalignment has been a problem. So the proposed updates identify the chief engineer, fire chief, of the responding fire department as the town forest fire warden, and it alleviates the additional workload on the fire chief by allowing them to have a designated deputy town forest fire warden, or more than one, to assist in issuing permits to kindle fire. So reducing that overburdened workload while connecting the dots on how fires start and how we respond to them. The next issue is that if statute reform moves forward, the payment provisions from FBR will no longer be needed since FBR would not appoint town forest fire wardens. So the proposed update is the removal of payment from FBR and provisions for towns to pay a salary to town forest fire wardens. An additional issue is that there is a general lack of clarity related to fire suppression costs when FBR reimburses suppression costs on private or municipal lands, and there's no mechanism for ensuring FBR is notified that there is an active fire on ANR lands. That's a problem. So where FBR is responsible for those suppression costs, we have a proposed update. We clarify that suppression costs may be paid on private or municipal lands if funds have been appropriated or available through other sources. We provide timelines for informing FBR of wildland fire suppression efforts, especially as it relates to potential reimbursement of suppression costs on Agency of Natural Resources lands. Another issue is increased wildfire risk requires prompt notification of fire incidents. Currently, the court requirement is to report within 2 weeks of extinguishment, putting out the fire. Fire occurrence information is tied directly to FBR Wildland Fire Response Team staffing levels and operating costs. Therefore, the proposed update is that town forest fire wardens must inform FPR within 24 hours of the discovery of all wildfires. So we cannot wait 2 weeks. We need 24 hours notice when a fire breaks out. So what does that do within the sections 7 through 11? Section 11 amends various sections of Title 10 and 20 to modernize the statutes related to those state forest fire wardens and town forest fire wardens and special forest fire wardens. Say that 3 times fast. It allows them to do as I described, to take command over forest fire response in any municipality, unorganized town or GOR. It allows them to delegate authority to act as incident commander or as a forest fire to another person. And they also serve on the Northeastern Forest Fire Protection Commission and enter into mutual aid compacts pursuant to the issuance of a ban of kindling fire permits on lands owned by ANR. That's Section 7. Section 8 amends Title 10 VSA Chapter 83, Subchapter 4, titled Forest Fire Prevention, in its entirety to update the statutes related to town forest fire wardens. Those changes, as I described with my issues that we are updating, resolve things like amending to allow town forest fire wardens to appoint deputies and to clarify that a municipality that does not receive services from any fire department that they may contract to have a neighboring municipality's fire chief serve as the town forest fire warden. So giving options here if your town does not have a direct link there. It also amends to repeal the specific $30 annual pay and $30 training per diem that forest fire wardens receive from the Commissioner of FBR. It amends to clarify that municipalities may be reimbursed for the cost of fire suppression services when funds are appropriated or are otherwise available for that purpose. And that section also amends to establish and express reporting criteria that must be met by a municipality in order to qualify for reimbursement of fire suppression costs. We continue to amend relating to established reporting requirements, and we also amend to have the state have a special forest fire warden that has the authority to issue permits to kindle Category 3 fires on lands owned by ANR. I'm going to give you a description of categories of fires so that you know what we're talking about in the bill and how we amend it. A Category 1 fire means fires 36 inches in diameter or less that are built in stone arches, outdoor fireplaces, or existing fire rings. Sounds a little safe. category 1, lowest category. They have to be, or 36 inches in diameter or less, built in a location that is 200 feet or more from any forest land or field containing dry grasses or other flammable plant materials or contiguous to forest land. Category 2, fire means, it means natural wood fires in piles larger than 36 inches in diameter or 36 inches in diameter or less, not built in those stone arches, outdoor fireplaces, or existing fire rings at state recreational areas or other public recreational areas or on private property. And then finally, category 3 is a fire that is applied to existing vegetation in a predetermined land area in a manner to meet specific or prescribed objectives, including fuel management, /abatement, firefighter training, agricultural field burning, forest management, wildlife habitat management, or the introduction or introduced species management. So think of those like prescribed burns. You're trying to do something positive in that scenario. Those are larger fires. They're not like in your fireplace when you're at your lean-to at the state park. We also amend to clarify natural wood does not mean wood, brush, weeds, or grass if they have been altered in any way by surface applications or injections of paint, stains, preservatives, oils, glues, or pesticides. Logically, accelerants we don't want just placed on wood. We make further technical corrections in that section, and I can go into detail about all those specific amendments that we make to define slash for provisions governing slash removal. It means branches, tree tops, other woody debris left on the forest floor after logging, for example. We're just trying to clarify a lot of stuff related to this. Then in section 9, it repeals the subchapter governing the uniform fire prevention ticket. This subchapter allows for the Superior Court to establish the uniform form to be used for a ticket issued by fire wardens for a fire prevention offense. Tickets are issued by the fire warden for a violation of those subchapters governing forest fire prevention. So all that stuff we just talked about, if you're not following the law, we're going to have a uniform ticket so that everyone knows when they're not following the law. Section 10. Section 10 amends Title 20 VSA 2673 to conform that sections to the updates of the Town Forest Fire Warden amendments. And then Section 11 amends a section slightly further down to eliminate references to the Uniform Fire Prevention Ticket subchapter that is repealed in Section 9 of the bill that I just told you about. There's a few more things I could tell you about the definitions of slash, but I'm going to hold back, and I'm going to yield to the senator from Orleans to finalize the rest of this bill for you.
The senator from Windsor yields to the senator from Orleans.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be speaking from sections 12 through 14. Section 12 is session law. It's the Department of Public Safety Communications Task Force authorization for ongoing expenditure of funds. This section authorizes the Department of Public Safety to use monies appropriated or held in reserve to procure and implement a multidisciplinary computer-aided dispatch system for public safety communications. Specifically, one, $2,250,000 for computer-aided dispatch system and 5 years of software licensing fees. Two, $190,000 for cybersecurity, expanded use of rapid SOS and geographic information systems, GIS. Three, $4,500,000, A, to implement and expand the land mobile radio network to include a statewide conceptual design. B, for designs and pilot projects. And C, to build out or improve 10 or more land mobile radio sites. Department of Public Safety shall submit 3 written reports by May 1, 2027, January 15, 2028, and January 15, 2029 to the House, Senate, and Senate Committees on Appropriations and Government Operations concerning the expenditures of these monies. After 3 years, the Department of Public Safety may request use of any remaining monies from the appropriations appropriated or held in reserve under this section. Section 12 also extends the Public Safety Communication Task Force to February 15, 2027. Section 13A, programs contingent on availability of agency funds. It requires the Department of Public Safety and the agency administration to implement the Ready Response Grant Program in the Technical Rescue Grant Program only if there are available funds, as a earlier presenter stated. 13B will appropriate $500,000 to the Department of Public Safety in fiscal year 2027 for the Ready Response Grant Program administered by the Division of Emergency Management. I have a feeling you might hear about that later. Section 13C, emergency rule. 13C amends part of the Vermont Administrative Procedures Act so that, in addition to the existing grounds for adopting an emergency rule, the existence of an imminent peril to public health, safety, or welfare, an agency may, if an amendment to a federal statute, rule, or policy will materially conflict with or threaten the ability of the agency to implement a statutory or regulatory program required under Vermont law. Section 13D is session law titled Sunset of Agency Emergency Rulemaking Authority. That will be repealed, repeal in VSA, and that's section 13C on July 1, 2028. Section 14 are the effective dates. Section 13C and 13D, as I just spoke about, shall take effect upon passage, and all other sections shall take effect on July 1, 2026. Your Committee on Government Operations heard from Deputy Fire Chief, EMS, and Deputy Emergency Management Director, City of Barrie, Deputy Commissioner of Vermont Department of Public Safety, Co-Chair of Public Safety Communications Task Force, Fire Chief and Fire Warden of Williston, Planner for Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, Legislative Council, Chief from Virgins Fire Department, State Forest Fire Supervisor, Department of Forest Parks and Recreation, the Director, Vermont Emergency Management, Department of Public Safety, General Counsel for the Department of Environmental Conservation, the Director of Finance and Administration, the sponsor of the bill, Fire Chief and Fire Warden of St. Johnsbury, the Associate Fiscal Officer, and your vote at a committee was 5-0-1. We hope that the Senate concurs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the Senator from Washington, Senator Perchlik, for the report of the Committee on Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate Appropriations Committee looked at 935 and found that it was more than de minimis. So we have a double amendment to deal with this. Our amendment is on page 4456 of today's calendar. And it's pretty straightforward. Two instances of amendment. You just have to go back one page to page 4454, and you'll see what our two amendments are. The first instance of amendment is on page 4454, the paragraph small d. This is what the Senator Marlene just reported on. The money that was appropriated from the task force, this is money that was already appropriated, so it's not in this year's budget. It's from budget from 2022, and it's been changed a couple times since. But most of the money gets appropriated as described. But subsection D just had a 3-year period where it just is held kind of an escrow, and then after they do some of the statewide work, it might get spent. So it was a little bit even referred to affectionately by folks in public safety as a bit of a slush fund for when they get done and see, like, do they have cost overruns, what is needed. We were a little worried about having that money sit there and not get spent for its need, given other fiscal constraints. So we appropriate this $2.5 million, which is the remaining money in the budget. So to avoid any confusion with that leftover money, we're proposing to strike this subsection D and then deal with that in the budget. That's the first instance of amendment. The second instance of amendment, which has been foreshadowed a couple times in the prior reports, is that we're striking the $500,000 appropriation in 13B. This leaves the language. There was interest by the parties that the language for the Make Ready grant program stay there. They could kind of set up the program and be ready for some money. So we leave the language for the grant program, but we strike the $500,000 appropriation. And there's language in there that says, if there's no appropriation, then they don't have to do it, but the language is there if they're able to find the money some other way. So those are our two instances of amendment that we made to the bill. There are other impacts for de minimis, or more negatively de minimis, because there was some, the not paying the $30 fee to the fire wardens saved us some money. And we had, on a vote of 7-0-0, passed the bill favorably.
The question is, shall the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Government Operations be amended as recommended by the Committee on Appropriations? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if I might inquire of the presenter of sections 7 through 11.
The presenter,
Okay, I apologize for the report of the appropriation report.
the reporter of the appropriations bill is interrogated.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I noticed that the fire chiefs, municipal fire chiefs are going to be responsible for controlling wildfires for lands owned by A&R, but they don't have, there's no money for it. So I did have a concern from a constituent of mine who was concerned about being responsible for taking care of the property that owned by A&R, but with an unfinanced requirement. Can you explain that to me, Mr. President?
Appropriations didn't really deal with that section other than that the fact that it was going to be a $12,000 to $15,000 savings to the state to not pay those. I mean, it's only $30 and a $10 annual payment for each fire report. So I assumed, but I think it's a better question for the reporter from GovOps about the specifics. My understanding that this was proposed by the Department of Forest Parks and Recreation. And I'm assuming just that the $30 or $10 for a report wasn't sufficient for the work involved in sending them $30, but.
I thank the report, Mr. President, and I will have for the reporter of 7 through 11.
Okay. So the question is, shall the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Government Operations be amended as recommended by the Committee on Appropriations? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
No,
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And you have amended the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Government Operations as recommended by the Committee on Appropriations. Now the question is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Government Operations as amended? Senator from Rutland.
thank you, Mr. President. I interrogate the presenter of sections 7 through 11.
The presenter of sections 7 through 11 is interrogated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm concerned, I'm curious about where the phrase lands owned by A&R came from.
I don't recall. It came over to us from the House. I'm not sure who proposed it. The language in section 7 through 11 was largely proposed with FBI. So I would assume that they had proposed that exact wording, but I would have to confer with legislative council.
Thank you, Mr. President, but with the public trust doctrine, I assume that the land belongs to all the people of Vermont, and that rather than AR owning it, they should manage it for the general public.
Is that a question?
That's a question.
I'm not, do you mind restating the question?
I'd like to know where the phrase came from.
I believe it's already an existing state statute.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Government Operations as amended? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And you have proposed to the House to amend the bill as proposed by the Committee on Government Operations as amended. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Senator from Windsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did want to rise because I think there's a few competing thoughts that came up with this bill. The first is that we don't want to overburden our fire wardens or our local municipal fire staff. And I think this bill helps accomplish that. In part. I also think that the lack of funding for some of those grant programs is also a loss, but that was not under the control of our committee. So I empathize with the suggestion that there should be more financial support for these programs. However, that was not a part of the discussion ultimately. And I do think that the ability for there to be a specially appointed fire warden to issue permits will reduce a lot of burden on local municipalities for those A&R land permits.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you've ordered third reading of H 935. We have on the calendar for action H 942, which was passed by the House on May 5th of 2026, was referred to the Committee on Agriculture, which reports it has considered the bill and recommends that the Senate propose to the House that the bill be amended as it appears starting on page 4456 of today's calendar, and that with such proposal of amendment, the bill ought to pass. Affecting the revenues of the state, the bill was referred to the Committee on Finance, which recommends that the bill ought to pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment as recommended by the Committee on Agriculture, with further proposal of amendment as found in your calendar on page 4462. Listen to the second reading of the bill.
Thank you.
H 942, an act relating to miscellaneous agricultural subjects.
Recognize the senator from Addison, Senator Heffernan, for the report of the Committee on Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will walk the body through the bill H 942 by sections, starting on page 4456 in today's calendar. We start out in section 3, unit pricing, convenience stores and exemptions, amending 6 VSA chapter 37. Let's weigh into this, shall we? First change is in definitions, adding the definition of convenience store, clarifying that these are small format retail selling limited quick purchases items like fuel, snacks, and beverages, explicitly excluding grocery stores, drugstores, dollar stores, or any other stores of those manners. It also gives the Secretary of Agriculture discretion to determine the classification. Why does this matter? Recognizing that unit pricing per ounce, per pound, etc., is less useful in small, limited inventory stores. Prevents confusion and inconsistency in enforcement, which was a big topic between the two parties. The second change is exemption rewrites. Rewriting unit price exemptions to be cleared and more particular. Key exemption include small stores, 7,000 feet or 7,000 square feet with limits for change store operations. Convenience stores, items consumed on site, clearance or limited time sale items, mixed bin items, items where unit price equals total price, seasonal decorations or regulated alcohol beverages. Why does this matter? It simplifies compliance, reduces unnecessary regulation burdens, keeps customer protection where they are most useful. Agency of Ag and the stakeholders helped craft this language, and they all agreed on it. Next section, section 4, equine farming and current use value appraisals. That's getting kicked into a study, and finance will let us know about that. But the Ag Committee wants to know that we have the full support of equine farmers, or that we support equine farmers. Section 5 deals with Rural Economic Development Initiative, and it amends 10 VSA State Statute 3525N. Let's go rural Vermont. What does this do? This clarifies and strengthens the Rural Vermont Economic Development Initiative, defines rural areas and small towns, and we added, and if you want to see on page 4459, community development initiatives. This confirms programs administrations through the Vermont Housing and Conservative Board. It expands and clarifies the services, such as identifying funding opportunities, grant writing, and technical assistance, strategy planning and protecting, and project coordination. The priority focus is shovel-ready projects, ready for implementation, that this will help move it along a little quicker. Key sectors, number one, of course, is agriculture and dairy, followed by outdoor recreation, value-added food and forest products, farm technology, such as phosphorus reduction, small business infrastructure, co-worker and incubator companies startup, compositing, and historic preservation. Excuse me, composting. Why does this matter? This was requested from the Rural Economic Development Initiative to help farmers that may be in areas with more than 5,000 people to get the assistance with grants, such as the grant writing and that. And I'll use like South Burlington, for example. They have some farms there that were looking help, and rural Vermont could not help them because they have the population over 5,000. Section 6, well, that was skidded out of here as well. That had to do with exemptions for the forest industry. Section 7 amends S60, Forest and Farm and Forest Operations Security Fund. What does this do? It amends 6 VSA State Statute 4643. What it does is it streamlines application and awarding timeline. It requires review board recommendations within 15 days, a final decision by the secretary within 15 days of the recommendation. Why does this matter? It speeds up financial assistance to farmers or foresters after a weather event, improves program responsiveness during the losses or emergencies. And finally, the effective date in Section 8 will take effect July 1 of 26. We had, for witnesses, we had the board members of the Vermont Retail and Grocers Association, General Counsel of the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, Meadow Hill Consultant, Agricultural Weights and Measures Specialty Agents of Agriculture, Food and Markets, lobbyists, the Vermont Equine Industry Advocacy Group, Legislative Finance Manager Joint Fiscal Office, Chief Weights and Measures, the Vermont Agency of Agriculture and Food and Markets, and the Environmental Advocacy Vermont Public Interest Research Group, as well as Champlain Farms, Maple Meadows, and I can't think of the name right now, as well as a resident from Montpelier stopped in, and lobbyist Ness Carson Group. I'm probably butchered that, I'm sorry. Vote out of committee was 5-0-0, and we ask for the Senate support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from Franklin, Senator Brock, for the report of the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of Finance looked at the bill, and although there's no specific dollar amounts contained in the bill as such, there are two sections of the bill that do represent potential threats to income and revenues from the state. The first is Section 6 of the bill, which includes certain retail sales taxes on motor vehicle parts and other items that are used principally in logging. And the second is in Section 4 of the bill, which goes into detail regarding the equine farming concept. Equine farming represents essentially farming of horses. And the question about farming of horses is, well, what's the product? We know that there's hay that comes from grasses and other things that are grown. We know that cows and pigs produce offspring that represent that and also represent potential foods to eat. But equine farming, the question is, what does it produce? It may produce little horses, but what are they worth? And there is no information available, at least to JFO, that gives them a good picture as to how to calculate the economic impact of adding additional little horses. And so these two portions of the bill were stripped in order to allow from some additional analysis to be done to give us an idea as to what is the return on investment from these parts of the bill. With those two parts eliminated or stripped from the bill, which the committee in the amendment that exists on page 4462 recommends that those two pieces, section 4 and section 6 of the bill, be dropped, and otherwise that the bill be passed on with a favorable vote of 6-0-1. Thank you, Mr. President.
The question is, shall the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Agriculture be amended as recommended by the Committee on Finance? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I interrogate the reporter from the Finance Committee?
The reporter from Finance is interrogated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm stalling to try and better understand exactly what was just said. I was paying close attention to the discussion about equine farming because we actually have a lot of horse farms in Chittenden County. And I know that many of our constituents have been in the building to discuss these sections. Can I first clarify with my colleague from Franklin County if those sections being struck from the bill means that they aren't allowed to participate in the same benefits that other farms are allowed to participate in now in the bill?
That's correct, Mr. President. There is a piece from JFO that goes into detail. And essentially, it's not that the committee is saying that this is not potentially a great idea. It may be or it may not be. But there's insufficient information to tell us what the return on investment of allowing it to do so would produce. And so what this does is it requires a study to be performed so that we can get the analysis, we can get the numbers we need in order to make an intelligent decision.
Mr. President, perhaps I got up to make an inquiry too soon, but did the Finance Committee clear this with the Agriculture Committee that clearly heard enough about horse farming being farming to include them in the bill in the first place?
Well, we did certainly have discussions with members of and the chair of Agriculture that this was coming, so that they were aware of it.
Mr. President, I thanked the senator from Franklin. My final remarks on this would just be that it would potentially be helpful to hear from your Senate Agriculture Committee because to my knowledge, horse farming and equine operations on a farm have long been considered farming in other areas of the law, and I'm just not sure exactly. We usually don't measure a farm's full existence or right to receive benefits by how much income they produce or how much of a return on investment they get. So I'd just like to better understand from the Senate Agriculture Committee how they feel about dropping these sections. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Washington.
I will gladly cede to the Agriculture Committee for them to say how they feel about this. Equine farming that produces little horses, frequently called foals, and that is a breeding operation, are allowed to join current use. And that happened in the 2013 study by Property Valuation. The bill as it came to us was very broad. Basically, if you had 2 ponies in your backyard and you had less than 25 acres and you made $2,000 a year giving riding lessons on those 2 ponies, you could be calculated as equine farming. Because it was so broad and because the state doesn't have a count of how many of these operations they are, the best we could get was it could be a $3 million hit to the education fund or an $11 million hit or more to the education fund. In these times, we didn't feel, I've been very clear, I grew up in Kentucky. I rode horses. My grandfather bought and sold Western horses in Massachusetts. I have muck stalls in miscellaneous states, and I would love to make equine farming up there. But as chair of finance, have a fiduciary responsibility. So this went sent to a study in property valuation so that they could get a better handle on what's out there and therefore what the potential cost could be.
Senator from Essex.
Thank you, Mr. President. I feel for the senator from Chittenden. I appreciate the concern. I think that we have gotten to a first good step to get equine farming into the program of current use. I certainly was hoping that we'd get there, but I also understand the chair of finance's reservation. I am happy at this point in time that we at least have gotten into a study so that we can get more information for it. And I'm believing that if we had been able to have more time at the beginning of the session or in the first biennium, that we probably would have gotten to the point of including equine in current use programs. But I'm happy that at least we've got it to a study and feel confident that once it's looked at fully, that we'll gain the confidence of the chair of finance and all the other committees that may have some jurisdictional areas, and that we'll get there. So I am thankful at this point in time that we've got to what we got to. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank the chair of finance. We found that her discussions of growing up on a farm and mucking out stalls was extremely helpful to us, giving us perspective that we needed in order to evaluate this bill. The key point, though, of the bill in terms of the actual recommendations was that the more land that you add to the current use program, depending on what it produces, means that it's going to have a potentially negative impact on school funding. And at a time when we are very concerned about the amount of money going to and being available for school funding, that's why this degree of care that we are suggesting in this particular amendment is particularly important. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Agriculture be amended as recommended by the Committee on Finance? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the risk of, I was going to say beating a dead horse, that would be. On page 4459, just to the point of the chair of finance, we define equine farming, the raising, feeding, or management of 4 or more equines owned or boarded by the farmer, including training, showing, and providing instruction and lessons in riding, training, and the management of equines. So it is a little bit more of a tightened up definition, but as the chair of agriculture mentioned, we do appreciate the work that the finance committee did on this. And we realized at the time that we pushed this through, we were potentially opening a door where we needed to go back and get some more information. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you have amended the recommendation of proposal of amendment of the Committee on Agriculture as recommended by the Committee on Finance. The question now is, shall the Senate propose to the House to amend the bill as recommended by the Committee on Agriculture as amended? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and you propose to the House to amend the bill as proposed by the Committee on Agriculture as amended. The question now is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You've ordered third reading of H 942. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Given where we are and given our attempts to interact with the House, they have a clean calendar at this point. So our intention is to be sending them more to work on. So with that said, I would ask that our rules be suspended in order to take H 935, an act relating to emergency management, through all remaining stages of passage. If I can, in one motion, I would add the same for H 942.
That's H 935 and H 932.
942.
942. Senator from Chittenden has moved that the Senate suspend its rules in order to put H 935 and H 942 through all remaining stages of passage. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay, let me find that script. It is the third and in concurrence, in concurrence with the proposal of amendment. Okay, yep. Are there any amendments prior to third reading? Seeing none, listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 935, an act relating to emergency management.
And the question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and we've passed H 935. We now have H 942 for third reading. Are there any amendments prior to third reading? Seeing none, listen to the third reading of the bill.
H 942, an act relating to miscellaneous agricultural subjects.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we've passed H 942. Senator from Chittenden.
Mr. President, I did overlook H 567, an act relating to unclaimed property. I would move that our rules be suspended in order to take that through all remaining stages.
Concurred on that.
Oh, did we?
We're not doing it. Oh, we're not doing it.
So we'll just concur on that.
We do 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, because
It, when finance withdrew their amendment with the same as the House.
Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I might amend my motion to suspend the rules to include H 294 as well.
Okay. So the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate suspend its rules in order to move H 567 and H 294 through all remaining stages of passage. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. Okay, in concurrence. We have H 294 for third reading. Are there any amendments prior to third reading? Senator Vihovsky.
Yes, I don't have it in hand because I was supposed to meet with the committee tomorrow morning to go through it. But I can get it and provide it. It is striking one line of text. And that is the line that includes core civic in the, I don't know what to do. Like I said, I have the amendment drafted. I was taking it to the committee in the morning.
Maybe a brief recess?
Yes.
We will take a brief recess. Will Senate please come to order? Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have an amendment which is now being passed out. I appreciate the brief recess. It is a very simple amendment. As I said this morning, I am concerned about setting the precedent of including for-profit private prisons in consultation on working groups around our correctional facility, which is run entirely by our state. I do appreciate that we do have some people who are incarcerated that are out of state that may be in a core civic facility, and I believe that our Department of Corrections can ensure that all of the people they are in the custody of have access to the very important things that are included in the study group. So what the amendment does is it strikes core civic from the list of stakeholders. Thank you.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as Senator from Chittenden Central?
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be supporting this amendment. I think it's a very small change in a large group of stakeholders that are going to be consulted. I would point out that while core civic will not be, it won't be mandated that they be consulted, nothing in the bill as it stands would prevent them from being consulted by folks in Vermont. And we do have inmates there, so that sort of consultation might well occur. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Windsor.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. Thank you. There was a question as far as the amount of wages that the inmates receive. They receive between 25 cents and $1.25, depending on the job that they are doing. And I thank the junior senator from Franklin for that question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the bill be amended as offered by the senator from Chittenden Central? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion carries, and we have approved the amendment. Are there any further amendments prior to third reading? Seeing none, listen to the third reading of the bill.
H-294, an act relating to telecommunications services and wages in correctional facilities.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We've passed H-294. In concurrence? No problem. We now have H-567 for third reading. Are there any amendments to be offered prior to third reading? Seeing none, listen to the third reading of the bill.
H-567, an act relating to unclaimed property, state retirement systems, and capital debt.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? Senator from Windsor.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is a handout related to this bill to respond to the senator from Rutland's question. This is the pink and green chart I referenced earlier that has the different amounts of money to reach sustainability. So hopefully that helps address it, and there's a copy available for everyone. And there's other information on the backside related to the fund as well that was not asked in the question, but I thought would be relevant if you had constituent questions.
There's two there.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We passed H-567. Senator from Chittenden. Well, I didn't know where he was going.
All together at the end.
Okay, and where would you like to continue?
S-325, Mr.
Okay.
President.
We have S 325, the Committee of Conference has submitted the report as found in today's calendar. And the question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. The other body made several changes to S325, and the Committee of Conference made some further changes to the other body's changes. You can find our Committee of Conference report on page 4463, and it's just instances of amendment, but I'm going to be telling you about both the changes that appear in the Committee of Conference report as well as the changes that the other body made roughly in chronological order as they appear in the bill. So here we go. So probably most notably, the other body removed what was referred to as Tier 3 and the road rule. That includes all of the implementation deadlines and associated rulemaking. Since there was no Tier 3 or road rule, then there is effectively no Tier 2 any longer. Tier 1 and the interim exemptions remain, though the exemptions have been somewhat altered since the bill left the Senate, and we agreed with all of those changes. Specifically, the interim exemptions have been brought to 2028, which aligns with the implementation of the Tier 1 process. They are now a year after the regional planning maps are updated. They also removed some language that we had included regarding priority housing projects remaining in Tier 1B eligible areas. The reason being that there are no processes currently established for determining Tier 1B eligible areas. There are future land use maps, and then a municipality can apply for Tier 1B, showing that they have the necessary zoning or subdivision bylaws, but no entity is predetermining Tier 1B eligible areas, though that is work you could conceivably take on in the future. In Section 6, there was an amendment that in the other body's version that created broad exemptions from Act 250 for events related to accessory on-farm businesses. The Committee of Conference spent most of their time on this section trying to determine what made the most sense. There was a reason that events associated with accessory on-farm businesses have been problematic in law, and that's because the what-ifs are seemingly endless. It's a particularly thorny issue, and the committee felt that the language in this amendment was too broad and unclear. So the Committee of Conference made two important changes to the section on accessory on-farm business events. The first was that we tried to add some level of specificity and guardrails. The language that you'll see here was taken directly from H128 from 2024, which was a previous attempt at adding clarity to accessory on-farm business events. Again, this is not a new issue. That particular bill did not make it all the way through the process, but it did get passed out of House Agriculture, and so it did have some level of vetting. The language includes that the exempt events may include concerts, but they can't go past 10 p.m., and they can't be louder than 70 decibels at the boundaries of the property, which is roughly the sound of a dishwasher or a normal conversation or a moderate freeway traffic, etc. It can also include farm stays, but they must have 5 or fewer dwelling units. And the events must substantially feature agricultural practices or qualifying products. However, there is a lot more that we could have discussed. Even in the short conversation that we had, it became clear that there were many rabbit holes we could go down, and we just didn't have time for them, which leads me to the second major change we made in this section. We recognize that whatever we have here is not likely to be right or the best it could be. So we had some conversation about whether we should have this language be effective now, but sunset, or whether we should just forward date the effective date. Either way, we acknowledge that the legislature will need to revisit this language again next session. It ultimately made sense to us to make the language effective 1 year out so that we could get more feedback on it over the next year that could inform the conversation that happens next session, especially as that one of the themes that we felt we heard from the conversation on Act 181 was a desire to have more opportunity for feedback and input. So that's why we landed on an effective date that's 1 year out for the exemptions for accessory on-farm business events. So that's that section. Okay, moving on to other parts. The other body had a re-envisioning of the language that we adopted as a result of the amendment from the senator from Chittenden North. They kept our strike-through language that removed tracts of land on 10 acres or less. and added that the project itself, including any land incidental to the use of housing projects such as lawns, parking lots, driveways, or leach fields, etc., could be on 10 acres or less, or had to be on 10 acres or less in order to qualify for the exemption. So we appreciated that it was kept and clarified a little bit further. As to the language that we incorporated as a result of the amendment from the senator from Orange, that language was removed as it created a situation in which it was possible to have no regulatory oversight over housing projects, as they created Act 250 exemptions in areas that potentially also had no zoning or subdivision bylaws. We had a section that removed the word rare from the list of set of types of species that municipality had to plan for. The other body removed this section as the Land Use Review Board has already created guidelines for municipalities, and the database and a database already exists that municipalities can use to create their plans. One of the notable sections that was new coming over from the other body was a public engagement plan. One of the things we heard from Vermonters was a desire to have more public engagement on land use planning issues. And so instead of presuming any outcome and getting feedback on that presumed outcome, the language in Section 9 charges the Natural Resources Conservation Council and the Vermont Council on Rural Development to come up with a plan to engage people on the risks to losing working lands and equitable and efficient and effective regulatory and non-regulatory tools for protecting working lands and critical natural resources. The Committee of Conference modified their language slightly to include looking at barriers to land stewardship, and that the process had to be nonpartisan and not presume policy outcomes. The other body also came up with a new section that creates a joint legislative environmental oversight committee, which would have 3 members from the Senate and 3 members from the House. That was part of the conversation that we had in the Committee of Conference. And they would meet with the Land Use Review Board to ensure strong communication and coordination regarding the interpretation and implementation of the statutes related to Act 181. This joint oversight committee is set to sunset in 2029, so we can evaluate whether or not they have been effective and are necessary to keep. Their new Section 11 creates a new report that includes recommendations for accessory on-farm businesses to come from the Land Use Review Board, sprawl prevention and strip redevelopment to come from the Land Use Review Board, and it asks the community, as a separate report, it asks the Community Investment Board to generate an annual report regarding designations and steps awarded to different municipalities, and to the municipal report that ACCD was already doing that was in our version of the bill. They included an ask on looking at the type, price, and location of housing that's created through the interim exemptions. We thought that would be useful data to see what the exemptions are generating. And the bill is now effective on July 1st as opposed to on passage. The Committee of Conference unanimously supported this result. We asked for the Senate to also support it. And I, in addition, would ask that when the vote on this is taken, that it be taken by roll. Thank you.
It has been requested that when the vote is taken, it be taken by roll. Senator from Orange.
If I could, I just want to correct the record. With my proposed amendment, the indication was there would be no review. There is review. There are multiple permits that would be required for the project. They would all be technical permits, but there is a review process. Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I inquire the reporter of the...
The reporter's interrogated.
I'm just trying to get a little bit of clarity in my mind about the 70 dB level. The reporter, I think, mentioned that the sound of a dishwasher was about that level. But I'm wondering how far away one would have to be from the dishwasher. Like, is it in the same room and you could hear it? Or I'm trying to get a sense of the property lines, which I believe, Mr. President, is where someone would stand and try to measure 70 dB. How far would something 50 yards away or 100 yards away be able to be heard at that level or not?
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that question. And I think I could answer it a couple of different ways. But I would start with that it is supposed to be at 70 decibels at the boundary of the property or at the property line. To be clear, though, I think the Senator's question may also be related to if we were talking about a dishwasher, how close to the dishwasher would one need to be in order to, for it to be 70 decibels? I don't have an answer to that. This was, for what it is worth, this was relative to some relatively quick searching on what a 70 decibel level would be. Another measure that I thought was useful was that in a casual business setting, it would be the level of sound of a normal conversation. So in case that is useful to you. The 70 decibels was a level that was identified in H 128 of 2024 as a part of their recommendations. And so that's really where this comes from. Though I will admit that may not be the right level. And should it not be the right level, we have all of next session to take more testimony and get it right. And I appreciate that as a place where there could be more conversation or specificity and get more testimony. And we did acknowledge, I mean, this was not the senator's question, but one of the things that came up was if there are weddings that are allowed, what about fireworks? Does that count? And how do we account for that kind of noise? And we did not have time to that, as I said, we did not have time to go down all those rabbit holes, but I appreciate the question, and I've probably said more than is useful.
Well, I don't know about that, Mr. President. I thank the report.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden.
Mr. President, might I interrogate the presenter?
The presenter's interrogated.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am specifically looking on page 4466, the 9th instance of amendment, and my interpretation, I don't know if it was from the reporter's remarks or what I'm reading here about a new subdivision, but is this new language entirely that was presented in the conference committee, or otherwise, where did this language come from?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a further question. I'm on page 4466, and I'm wondering, because this is the instances of amendment, and I'm wondering which instance the senator may be referring to.
Sorry, the 9th instance of amendment, the data collection. If it helps to have some preamble of where I'm going with this, these all have very specific definitions, or this is data that your housing committee has been chasing for a long time without running afoul of any laws about protecting people's identified data. So I'm just trying to understand the genesis of this language.
Thank you, Mr. President. The majority of this language in the 9th instance of amendment came over from the other body as something that they added. And it is appearing here in the Committee of Conference report because they did not include types of units. We wanted to know types of units, and then that generated some conversation about, well, what do we mean by types of units? And so that is where that list of including the number of affordable units, market rate units, second homes, units for short-term rentals, units for long-term rentals, single-unit dwellings, multi-unit dwellings. That is the part that is new as coming out of the Committee of Conference. And then I think there was some different, the idea of where the units were was in the language from the other body, but I think there was just like a little bit of a couple words added there to get at the same point. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Where it says the price, that's a pretty broad term in housing law. Did the committee intend to capture the price of a unit for sale, a subsidized unit price, a rental unit price?
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have some conversation about what we meant by price, and I think there was some conversation about whether it ought to be constructed, like there's a cost for construction, though we ended up not going with that. And so appreciate that the senator's concern about what kind of price we were discussing here, and I think the intent was market rate, what it was going for.
Mr. President, when the senator from Washington says market rate, does that mean market rate for sale or market rate for rental or both?
I don't think, thank you, Mr. President, we did not contemplate, we did not discuss the rental aspects of that. So I think we were mainly considering the price for, as it would be for sale.
Thank you, Mr. President. My final question, for definitions like affordable unit, second home, short-term rental, and long-term rental, your finance committee's heard me say this, these all have different definitions in different areas of statute. In fact, someone could have a second home that they also use as a short-term rental, that they also use as a long-term rental. Did the committee contemplate which definitions were going to be used?
Thank you, Mr. President. We did not contemplate which definitions ought to be used there. And as this is a part of the report, I imagine it would likely be up to the discretion of ACCD.
Mr. President, that was my last question, but just to clarify, the report is being requested to the Department of Housing and Community Development, that is our partner in collecting housing data. And where is the report going, Mr. President?
If I may clarify, does the senator mean who is it being reported to?
Who's the recipient of the report, Mr. President?
If you could give me 30 seconds, I can tell you that. This report shall be submitted to the House Committees on Environment and on General and Housing, and the Senate Committees on Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs, and on Natural Resources and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the member. I would just conclude by highlighting that, you know, this is not a deal breaker for me by any means in the larger considerable body of work that was done in S325. But I hope this underscores for the chamber that it is extremely complicated and involves a lot of confidentiality and a lot of consideration for best data management and collection practices to ask these types of questions. We, as your Housing and Economic Development Committee, ask these questions all the time, and it guides our housing policy, but we have to be extremely careful about what we're seeking out in these areas and be much clearer in the future, Mr. President, because there is some of this section that is either duplicative, or we don't have that information, we work really hard to get that information, or it's especially unclear what's being asked for and what information would be gathered by collecting it, as well as your Committee on Housing and Economic Development has gone to great lengths to increase utilization of the landlord certificate and made all of that information confidential so that we could better understand the overall rental rates in different regions of the state and whether or not they are increasing drastically or coming down. But it was very important that we do a lot of that work confidentially, because if you're talking about small tracts of land that were exempt, you can end up relaying otherwise identifying information about taxpayers and the use of their property. So with that, Mr. President, I will support the conference committee report. I just hope we are careful about what data we believe we have or are trying to collect. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Essex.
So here we are, Mr. President. A few years back and some time ago, we had some grand discussions about most of what the conferees ended up at. That Act 181 would spend millions of dollars, waste a bunch of time, all the while, which could have been spent doing better and more impactful work in our state. The bill that started out seeking to increase housing has done little of that, but instead has changed the landscape of Vermont in a positive way, with hopefully more to come. Rural Vermont has found their voice, has been reinvigorated into the political process, crossing party lines, and become ready to engage this August through November. A little rally of 16,000 members are ready to go to work to protect the most cherished parts of their lives, their property rights, protect against government overreach, be involved in education reform, and also be involved in defeating harmful environmental laws driven by out-of-state Vermont special interests. For me, it can't come soon enough. What bothers me the most is that most of what was predicted about the harmful effects of bills that were overridden and what they would do to our state have become true. Thank you, Mr. President.
Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference? Are you ready for the question? If so, the Secretary shall call the roll.
Senator Baru.
Yes.
Senator Beck.
Yes.
Senator Benson.
Yes.
Senator Baumgart.
Yes.
Senator Brennan.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson. Senator Collmore.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Dooley.
No.
Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Heffernan.
Nay.
Senator Kingo.
Yes.
Senator Ryan.
Yes.
Senator Major.
Yes.
Senator Matos.
Yes.
Senator Morley.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Pershing.
Yes.
Senator Plunkett.
Yes.
Senator Von Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Bohofsky.
No.
Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Leslie.
Yes.
Senator White.
Yes.
Senator Williams.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Those voting yes, 27. Those voting no, 3. And the Senate has accepted and adopted the Committee Conference report on S325. Senator from Chittenden Central.
Mr. President, point of inquiry.
What is your point of inquiry?
I'm not sure if it's in order to ask which votes were counted in each category. We have a discrepancy in our count over here, and I wasn't sure about a particular member's vote, and I wonder if you might.
We'll take a brief recess.
Okay.
considered.
Will the Senate please come to order?
You got it.
Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. As to my point of inquiry, we have cleared up the discrepancy. The presiding officer did present the right count, and I would just ask as a courtesy with the noise in the room that if someone's using rhyming words to say yes or no, that the first letter really does matter in enunciation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Chittenden Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of a request from our colleague from Addison to reconsider his vote, I move that the Senate suspend its rules in order to allow an immediate reconsideration of that vote.
The senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate suspend its rules in order to reconsider our vote on H 325. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
It will be a roll.
It will be a roll call, yes.
If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will reconsider our vote on S 325. The question is,
Who asked for that? They haven't come around?
oh.
It's got to have something to do with.
Senator, it's been brought to my attention that someone voting in the affirmative has to now request the reconsideration.
Absolutely.
The senator from Chittenden Central has moved that we reconsider our vote on S 325. Are you ready for the question? Senator from Washington.
So just a point of inquiry, so this motion is coming from the senator from Chittenden Central?
Yes. Only affirmative people can ask for a reconsideration.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the question? Senator from Chittenden.
This stuff intrigues me, Mr. President. So point of clarification, if you are asked for it, if you voted in the affirmative, do you now need to reverse your vote?
You do not.
Okay.
You're just reconsidering your vote. Senator from Chittenden.
If I might, for the body's knowledge, otherwise we would need to wait 24 hours. We are in a very, very accelerated time frame. We may in fact be leaving tomorrow or the next day. So with input from the minority leader and his caucus, I try to make sure that we're operating with general assent. We have assent on this. The only thing we need to do is suspend the rules to go back to allow Senator from Madison to reconsider.
Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Not this one? Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
We are not doing a roll call on this.
Never mind, my apologies.
Is everyone ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and we will reconsider our vote on S 325. Now the question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee on Conference? This will be a roll call, or does someone needs to ask again?
Roll call.
A roll call has been asked for, and when the vote is taken, it shall be by roll. Are you ready for the question? If so, the secretary shall call the roll.
Senator Bruce.
Yes.
Senator Beck.
Yes.
Senator Benson.
Yes.
Senator Baumgart. Senator Brennan.
Yes.
Senator Brock.
Yes.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Collins.
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Bueller.
No.
Senator Hardy. Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Heffernan.
Yes.
Senator Engel.
Yes.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Major.
Yes.
Senator Matos. Senator Morley.
Yes.
Senator Norris.
Yes.
Senator Kirschling.
Yes.
Senator Plunkett.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Bohofsky.
No.
Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
Yes.
Senator Weston.
Yes.
Senator White.
Yes.
Senator Williams.
Yes.
We are now presented with another problem that three conferees are missing. Shall we just move on? Oh, they're right here. At least two of them. Good. The question for those who just re-entered the room is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference on S325?
Senator Bonder.
Yes.
Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Matos.
Yes.
Very efficient. Got it. Those voting yes, 28. Those voting no, 2. We have accepted and adopted the report of the Committee of Conference on S325. We now have the Committee of Conference report on H740. The Committee of Conference has submitted the report and it is found in today's calendar. The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference on H740? Senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of Conference made a relatively small change to the language in H740 pertaining to the greenhouse gas inventory that the state publishes related to statewide data. The intention here is that the more granular data collection that's contemplated in H740 is meant to inform the statewide inventory, and as it currently stands, the statewide inventory is set to sunset in 2028. Given that the Senate's version of H740 included an appropriation and direction to adopt rules by 2027, that may mean that they may actually miss each other. If more granular data collection starts in July of 2027, and the statewide inventory ends in 28, that reflects what happened in 2027. There's not even a full year of overlap. As a result, the other body proposed to push out the sunset for the statewide greenhouse gas inventory to 2030, so that there would be at least a couple of years during which we can compare the two and make adjustments and alignments as necessary. The Committee of Conference report was supported by 2 out of 3 senators, and we asked for Senate support, and again, would ask that this vote be taken by roll. Thank you.
Senator has requested that when the vote is taken, it be by roll. Are you ready for the question? The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference on H740? Are you ready for the question? If so, the Secretary shall call the roll.
Senator Baru.
Yes.
Senator Beck.
No.
Senator Benson.
No.
Senator Bongard.
Yes.
Senator Brennan.
No.
Senator Brock.
No.
Senator Chittenden.
Yes.
Senator Clarkson.
Yes.
Senator Coleman.
No.
Senator Cummings.
Yes.
Senator Hewitt.
Yes.
Senator Hardy.
Yes.
Senator Harrison.
Yes.
Senator Hashim.
Yes.
Senator Heffernan.
No.
Senator Ingalls.
No.
Senator Lyons.
Yes.
Senator Major.
Yes.
Senator Matos.
No.
Senator Morley.
No.
Senator Norris.
No.
Senator Pershing.
Yes.
Senator Plunkett.
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Bohofsky.
Yes.
Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Weeks.
No.
Senator Weston.
No.
Senator White.
Yes.
Senator Williams.
Nay.
Those voting yes, 17. Those voting no, 13. We have accepted and adopted the Committee of Conference report on H740. We now have Committee of Conference report on H 952. The Committee of Conference has submitted the report as found in today's calendar, and the question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference on H 952? Senator from Wyndham.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee conference met multiple times last week, and we agreed to the language that you see on pages, starting on pages 4468. Both the Senate conferees and the other body were concerned with the prison facilities, that we spent a lot of time with that, specifically the Wi-Fi, door controls, and a boiler. We agreed to move funding around accordingly. We've been discussing the Wi-Fi for the prisons for years, and we were able to include ADS, the Agency for Digital Services, in those conversations. We ended up with a comprehensive outline of a plan to modernize processes in addition to just providing Wi-Fi, so we actually improved things. The three entities involved, Corrections, ADS, and BGS, will report monthly to the Joint Legislative Oversight Committee between this and the next session. Our concern with the Vermont HUT contract with the state was resolved through additional language that the Commissioner of Forest, Parks, and Recreation report to the House and Senate chairs with a status report on the lease provisions prior to executing the lease. That language will allow the process to proceed as planned over the summer, but with appropriate oversight. The policy language regarding the sale of 110 State Street, we spent a lot of time on this, was opposed by the other body and the administration. We were able to come to an agreement to allow the sale by adding conditions to protect the building. These included a price of at least market value, interior and exterior protective covenants, requests for proposal and sale contracts being provided to the chairs, and intent language that helps. It says that the historic attributes of the property are to be protected for future generations. The language to protect the town's ability to establish municipal stormwater utilities remains. The last item I want to report, unless anyone has a question, this one is important because it involves other budgetary actions, specifically the T-bill and the education bill. We receive a bonding recommendation each year from the Capital Debt Affordability Advisory Committee. The bonding recommendation for this 2-year cycle was lower than in previous cycles, not because of the state's credit rating or ability to pay the debt service, but because we were not using the funding we had accumulated in previous years. We have excess capacity, excess bonding capacity, and it didn't make sense to add more funding to that capacity, particularly because BGS could not implement the projects, and it's not their fault. The proposed 50 million bonds each for transportation and for school aid were vetted by the treasurer before they were proposed. So I just want to say it again. The proposed 50 million bonds each for the transportation bill and for school aid were vetted by the treasurer before they were proposed and will be again vetted before any issue is considered by a future legislature. I ask the Senate to approve the report of the Committee of Conference. Thank you.
The question is, shall the Senate accept and adopt the report of the Committee of Conference on H 952? Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and we've accepted and adopted the report of the Committee on Conference on H 952. Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would move that the Senate suspend its rules in order to message actions taken on H.294, an act relating to telecommunications services and wages in correctional facilities, H.567, an act relating to unclaimed property, H.935, an act relating to emergency management, H.942, an act relating to miscellaneous agricultural subjects, and H.952, an act relating to capital construction and state bonding budget adjustments.
Senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate suspend its rules in order to message our actions on H.294, H.567, H.935, H.942, and H.952 to the House forthwith. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries. Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that completes our work for the afternoon. Hopefully, when we meet again, it will be a little less hot. But with that said, Mr. President, I would move that the Senate stand in adjournment until Thursday, the 28th.
At 10 a.m.?
At 10 a.m. Thank you.
Senator from, are there any announcements? Senator from Chittenden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Health and Welfare will meet tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m.
Are there any further announcements? Senator from Windsor.
Thank you. I have two announcements. Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs will meet at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and the conferees for H639, our genetic data privacy bill, will be meeting at 5, and the conferees should meet up beforehand. So I'm missing one of them, but I see one. So we should just huddle after the floor. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, the senator from Chittenden Central has moved that the Senate stand in adjournment until 10 a.m. Thursday, May 28th, 2026. Are you ready for the question? If so, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we'll stand in adjournment until 10 a.m. Thursday, May 28th, 2026.